Hello, you're listening to Mike Madden on the Art Show podcast. Here you will find interviews with authors, musicians, artists and anyone else in and around the arts. Some of the interviews are taken direct from the Art Show on Expat Radio, with one or two specials in between. This show features artist KB Bayley talking about his latest album, Little Thunderstorms. Hello, this is Mike Madden and you're listening to Words and Music tonight. I have a very special guest and we're going to start with the title track from his latest album. This is Little Thunderstorms.
Sell shoes, a man in a hat singing Delta blues. Too much rain for him to draw a crowd, but he sings it loud. Dead Dog Bridge, where the river runs green, prettiest girl I ever seen. Took her to a bar called the March of Time. She bought me wine. I thought this love would last forever. I thought this love would see the light. And the sky's full of little thunderstorms, and the sound of breaking hearts. Love is looking for redemption before it falls apart. Siren voice with a red guitar. Someone says her daddy is a rock and roll star. She kills me soft, she makes me bleed. It's what I need. I thought this song would last forever. I thought this song would see the light. And the sky is full of little thunderstorms, and the sound of breaking hearts. Love is looking for redemption before it falls apart. I'll be your angel in boots of Spanish leather and a suit of shining white. I'll be your Gabriel with wings of silent feathers, sing a song to you at night. Baby came early, Daddy stayed late. A room's full of coffee where we sit and wait. Clock on the wall beats 4 to the floor. There's a knock on the door. I thought this love would last forever. I thought this love would see the light. And the sky is full of little thunderstorms, and the sound of breaking hearts. Love is looking for redemption before it falls apart. I'll be your angel in boots of Spanish leather and a suit of shining white. I'll be your Gabriel with wings of silent feathers, sing a song to you at night.
Hello, this is Mike Madden on Words of Music. That was Little Thunderstorms by my next guest, which is KB Bayley. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. Nice to talk to you. Thanks very much for having me on.
You're more than welcome. Now, the single from the album, Cold Rain, was released, I believe, on the 26th of February.
That's right. New into the world. Yep.
So how's it going?
It's great. Thank you. I'm really enjoying, the album making its way into the world, really enjoying talking to people like yourself who, are playing the songs, want to talk about the songs. It's just great. It's really nice to talk about the stories behind the songs and also the process that went into the recording of them, because it was all a little bit different because the record was made in 2020, which, as we both know, was a curious year.
A very curious year, and I guess for most people, studios are out of the question. So you just got to sort of do the best you can.
Well, you're spot on. These songs were written really through sort of 2018-19, and I had a plan to start recording them at the start of last year, and there were a lot of musicians that I wanted to collaborate with, get them playing on the songs. And I had this lovely idea of recording. I've got access to a little studio in London, just a little room there, and I was going to record my parts there and then get all my musician mates into the studio, and we'd work on it in the evening. And then, do you remember those things called pubs? Then we'd hit a pub and have a chat about the music and have a pint and a pie together. And of course, it all changed. So
the most creative part of it in the pub, obviously.
Oh, of course, discussing the take 28, which was the best one, take 28 or take 29. But it all changed because of 2020. And I remember it was just about this time last year, possibly a little bit later, sort of end March, having all the songs ready to go, thinking I've just got to change everything around. And I ended up recording it from the room I'm talking to you in, which is my little sort of back room, my little studio at home. It's just a sort of back bedroom with some pretty rudimentary soundproofing foam stuck on the walls. But you know what? It sort of turned out how I wanted it to sound. If you put your headphones on and listen carefully, you can hear the chair creaking and squeaking, and I did edit out me sort of shouting at my family, asking them not to slam the bathroom door, in the middle of a vocal take. But apart from that, it was just me and my guitars in a back room, and of course all those wonderful musicians, those collaborators that I asked to play on the record, they ended up playing on it just the same, and it was all done remotely. So I'd record a part here, send it down the wire to them, they would work away in their own room. And it was a really exciting moment, actually, just getting their musical talent in the inbox and opening up the file and then mixing it all here in a back room. So sort of miraculously, it kind of came together.
It is miraculous because you mentioned sort of March 2020. Yeah. And of course, that was when it all started. It seems a lifetime ago now, but I remember St. Patrick's Day last year was probably the last pint I had in a pub before lockdown.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I remember that, and I think I had a gig. I had a really nice sort of launch date for the album booked, sort of in middle of the summer, and you'd be thinking by then, we should be all right to do this. And of course, then time passed, and I just put the release date back, put it back to this year, and thought there's no point rushing it, and got everyone to contribute remotely. And as it was, the album made its way into the world, and it was recorded entirely differently, but I'm still really pleased with how it turned out, I guess.
Yeah, and the remote collaborations, I mean, you wouldn't have thought this 12 months ago. You'd have thought that's going to be an impossibility, but actually, we just spoke to quite a few people and they've done it. Do you think that's ever going to become something that is almost the norm?
Well, to be honest, Mike, I do actually play quite a lot of guitar for other people when I'm not writing my own songs, and it is a way of working. People will send you a song and you record a bunch of parts, and you'll package them up and put them back down the wire in an emailed folder. In truth, with this record, I really wanted to sort of connect with, they're all friends of mine, they're all super musicians and songwriters in their own right, but I really wanted to kind of be in a room with them. And that was kind of the point of making the record that way. It was always just going to be me plus one other on each song. So, like almost like duets. That said, it was still wonderfully collaborative, you know, and I'd send a track through, somebody would send something back, then maybe we'd have a Zoom or, you know, just a phone call, that whole thing, and swap a few ideas, and it sort of came out. So I think for me going forward, it's a way that I've got very used to, and it's a way that, you know, I'm already thinking about the follow up to this record, and I'm sure I'll be doing something similar again.
In some ways, that's a depressing thought, isn't it? But you know, in other ways, it's very, very positive.
As long as we end up in a pub at some point, that would be nice. Wouldn't it? The idea of a pulled pint, I've got to tell you, is a nice thought, isn't it?
I know. I'm not a great one for cans of beer at home, but
agreed. Totally agree. Yeah.
The thought of going to a pub right now is
would be
a good
lovely,
one.
and to play live again as well. You know, I'm sort of really lucky. I've met a lot of the musicians on the record are all from the live circuit that I've got to know them from, and they're all fantastic musicians. And you know, you just had this idea, and I think I had one gig that got rescheduled about 3 times because lockdown teased us a little bit, didn't it? You know, we came out of it, and then by sort of August, September last year, we were just starting to sort of nibble back some freedom of normal life. And then, of course, November we went into it, and then Christmas, it's, you know, it feels really for the last 2 or 3 months we've been solidly locked down. And so for people like me and for people like all the guys that played on the record, live music feels still quite a long way away. I think the most recent news about vaccines and the pathway has given us a little bit of confidence. People are starting to talk about maybe sort of getting some gigs in the diary, kind of end summer, early autumn, but plenty of time to practice, I guess.
Yeah, and I've noticed that some of the festivals have started appearing on calendars again, particularly the bigger ones at Leeds and Reading, and there's one near me called Why Not, which is scheduled for, I think, late July, early August. Possibly optimistic, but you know, they're talking about football stadiums with 90,000 people in July. So somebody's got to have had a positive outlook to even suggest something like that.
I think you're right, and from my end, you know, I play a fair bit of stuff sort of all over the country, but a lot of it is sort of down south, southeast, and there's 2 or 3 venues that I really love, and they're sort of back rooms at pubs, and you know, you can probably cram, I don't know, on a really good night, 100 and 120 people in there, but that means there's people sitting on the floor at the front. You know, all the tables are full. You might have 10 people on a table, and that is the beauty of the atmosphere. And actually, to imagine a room like that with 5 tables of 6, you know, reduced from 120 down to 25 or 30, it's a very different evening. I think we'll welcome it back if it happens, but it's going to feel like a very different evening to certainly how it was. I mean, I think the last live gig I did, it's probably around the same time as your pint mic. It was probably sort of mid-February. I think I did second week February 2020. I played a nice venue down just outside Guildford where I play a lot, and that was a super night. And little did I know as I drove away that night that it was going to be the last gig for probably best part of 18 months, I guess.
I guess it will be by the time we get back again.
Yeah.
So back to more happier subjects. And yes. Blood Red Lullaby, you got Ben Glover to sing on that. I know you're particularly pleased about that. So how did that come about?
Well, Ben, you know, I'm proud to call him a friend. He's a fantastic songwriter and musician. He's from Northern Ireland, but he's based in Nashville. He works over there, writing songs, performing with a whole load of amazing artists like Gretchen Peters and Kim Ritchie, all of whom are real heroes of mine. I remember very clearly when I first saw Ben play, I went to see Gretchen Peters. I'm a huge fan of her work and her songwriting. And it was actually in St. Albans, which isn't far from me. And he was supporting Gretchen, and I walked into the St. Albans Arena just as he was starting his set, and he's there, and he's got his red Gibson Hummingbird, and his set I was spellbound by it. He just sung these beautifully spare, emotive songs, and to be honest, I was just quite late in life getting back into sort of writing solo songwriting myself after having worked with lots of other people and played on a lot of other people's records throughout my life. And I found Ben's work amazingly inspiring, and we talked afterwards, and I just thought, what a great guy. So I've sort of kept in touch with him. Whenever he's come to play over here, I try and get along to see him. I'm loving all the recordings he was doing. His record with Gretchen, I loved Atlantic, which was a recent album. And then as I was putting this together, I just had this idea on the chorus that it needed a different voice, but not harmonies, not backing vocals. I wanted a different voice to sing it. And I guess, it was a bit audacious. I just emailed him and I said, Ben, would you mind very much having a go at doing the vocal on this? And he was wonderful and lovely. And he recorded it pretty much within a week and sent it back. And I was elated. I was elated to have a friend and a hero singing on that song, on that chorus. And also musically, I thought it worked really, really well. It just takes the song somewhere different to have a voice like his. He's got a wonderfully distinctive voice, very emotive sounding vocal. And I'm really thrilled to have him on there. It's a real proud moment for me.
A brilliant story. And I was going to play Time to Leave Town, but let's listen to Blood Red Lullaby and hear Ben on the chorus.
Oh, thank you.
It will go Mockingbird Lane to Lemon Avenue, then travel south on Lemon to Turtle Creek, Cedar Springs through the downtown area on Harwood to Maine, west on Main to Houston, through the Triple Underpass to Stemmons Freeway, then on to the Trade Mart.
I moved through the ticker tape on the day that I was born. You can't say this town don't love you, someone shouted from the lawn. They sang their songs of freedom and Independence Day. And then a magic bullet blew his head away. They taught us in the schoolroom, they taught us love and war. Burglars in the chapel, bloodstains on the floor. The priest talked of atonement, he preached of Judgment Day. He asked for one last cigarette as they led him away. Deep inside the ashes of a Sunday afternoon, drinking to the innocence that faded all too soon. Somewhere in the clouds of a lonely southern sky, an angel sings a blood-red lullaby. All my friends thought he was Jesus, catching fishes in the sea. They took him to a big white house, told him who he used to be. One morning on the roof, he thought he was a bird. The whispering of the rain was the last thing that he heard. Deep inside the ashes of a Sunday afternoon, we're drinking to the innocence that faded all too soon. Somewhere in the clouds of a lonely southern sky, an angel sings a blood-red lullaby. She died when I was 7. I found out when I was 9. Like everything I've loved and lost, she was never really mine. You think my eyes look sad? You should see them from my side, washing in the water of all the tears I've cried. Deep inside the ashes of a Sunday afternoon, we're drinking to the innocence It faded all too soon. Somewhere in the clouds of a lonely southern sky, an angel sings a blood-red lullaby.
Hello, you're listening to Mike Madden. The show is Words and Music, and my guest tonight is KB Bayley. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, that was Blood Red Lullaby from your forthcoming album. Is it out already, Little Thunderstorms?
It is. Just came out in February. Yes.
Fantastic.
It's made its journey into the world. Yeah.
So Little Thunderstorms is the name of the album. As I say, that was Blood Red Lullaby. And is your album available in physical form, or is it just on the streaming platforms?
It's primarily on the streaming platforms. If you get in touch with me through my website, kbbayley.com, that's Bayley. I'm also on I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, KB Bayley, BAYLEY.com. Drop me a line and I can absolutely get you a physical copy if anybody wants one. I did do a very small run of vinyl, which went down very well, I have to say. But I've done, a bunch of CDs, which it's surprising I find people still like. So I've been sending out CDs from here, but it is primarily on all the streaming stuff where you get your music, as the young people always put these days on their recording. That's what they say, isn't it? Find it where you get your music.
Yeah, indeed. It's a regular theme on the show is harking back to the days of vinyl, the 12-inch and all the cover notes and things like that.
Oh, you're right, Mike. I have a very good friend of mine who was a huge influence on me musically, actually. He used to talk about the ceremony of a vinyl record, a disc, which I thought was beautiful. And he described, sitting in his dad's big armchair with the big old headphones with the curly cable plugged into the sort of slightly strange, what were those things like home music centers?
Oh, yeah, flashing lights, like a spaceship.
I don't want to insult you, but I feel you and I, neither of us are like 19, are we? So
we're not, no.
You've got that idea. And the big old sort of home music place, exactly right, flashing lights, and then just sitting back and working through the gatefold sleeve and reading who played percussion and all that stuff. And I love all that. And I did deliberately do some vinyl copies of Little Thunderstorms. It's not a gatefold sleeve, but it's I'm really pleased with that. Actually, very proud of it. And I've sort of given it to some of the people that have played on the record and, responded to any orders for it and stuff. It's nice to have going forward.
And how do you manage with all the artwork and the promotion and things like that?
Well, it's always a team. You get different people, different sort of artists, designers involved. You just have favorite quote of my dad's. I think he saw it in a film once. Says you have to have good men around you, and that's although I'm a solo artist, you do have a team of people around you. For example, the photos that go with all the promo taken by a very good friend of mine, actually on my hometown Seaford, down on the south coast, East Sussex. And he and I sort of drove down there together and took some pictures in an afternoon. And then there's a guy who does all the printing and reproduces the CD. So it's a sort of a team of people to end up with a finished product. I think that's probably why it's still nice to have physical CDs and vinyl and things to stick on the wall. Otherwise, it literally becomes just, files that you mix on your laptop and then you upload them to a site and a month later they're on Spotify. It's actually physically nice to see something that you can stick on a wall or leave on a desk somewhere, I think.
I think you're right. It's the same with photographs as well. You know, photograph, you lose track of the zillions of photographs, which is a lot more than you used to have, but you don't very rarely get the physical image.
You're right.
I've just thrown away dozens and dozens of VHS tapes because I've got nowhere to play them.
Yeah, I think they're unlikely to be played again. That's
indeed.
Yeah.
So and your press release quotes Tom Waits' 3 things to write a song. You need a place, the weather, and a drink. And we've had this week talk about the weather with Andy Ruddy and Serious Child. So I'll leave it to you to say, what about the place and the drink?
Well, I really believe in that quote. I love it. I love Tom. Tom's always influenced me all my life. I don't sound anything like him vocally, but I absolutely love his work. I love his vocals. I love his lyrics. I actually love reading about. I've got a few sort of biographies of him and the way he approaches creativity, and because he's an actor as well. And for me, his songs always have a really strong sense of place in them. So probably my desert island album would be Blue Valentine, and there's a song on there called Kentucky Avenue, absolutely wonderful Christmas card from a hooker. The sort of lyrics just take you to the place that he's writing the song about, and I wouldn't consider myself in his league, but when I sit down to write a song, I'm always trying to do that. So if it's time to leave town, that's a very sort of windswept song. It's all sort of coastal towns of Britain. I think Blood Red Lullaby, which you played, there are some quite strong images in that. It starts off in 1960s America, and there are sort of various fragmented, almost dreamlike images from my childhood. So you absolutely need a place. The weather kind of sets the atmosphere. Rain is a very strong image in a lot of the songs I love and a lot of my own songs, and it's amazing how some form of, whether it's either a whiskey or a coffee, kind of just slides into the lyrics somewhere. It's amazing how often that happens. But a lot of the songs I love, they tick all those 3 boxes, I've got to say.
And I mean, the album is musically fantastic, but what shines through for me is that you're very much a storyteller. So where does that come from? Have you always been a storyteller, or is it influenced more by people that you've listened to?
Oh, that's very kind. I've got to tell you, I'm really chuffed to hear you say that, because I sort of like to think of myself as much of a storyteller as a songwriter, to be honest. I like to think of each song as a little story. I really do. And I always sit down with a little plot for the song. And it's interesting because some of them might be things that have happened directly in my life. Some of the things might be completely imagined, utter fiction. Most of them, to be honest, are probably a combination of the two. So once I get into, the story of the song, I kind of feel I'm away. So if you take a song like the title track, Little Thunderstorms, that opens in Camden in London. And that's a very strong image in my mind. I love Camden. I lived there when I first moved to London millions of years ago. And I remember just walking through, and you've got buskers and you've got live music and you've got the markets, and there's a tremendous atmosphere going on. And that sort of sets the tone for the first verse. And then you sort of work through, and then you the guy singing the song, whether it's me or someone else, then hears, a woman with a guitar singing beautifully. And there's always a reference to, Killing Me Softly and that. And then by the time we get to the last verse, we're in sort of the worlds of families. And actually, we're tying into the whole idea of the album, which is, the sky's full of little thunderstorms, which is just stuff that happens to you, family life, big, small, seismic, tragic, mundane, every day, and I guess we're moving through, starting off in a place that I know and love and remember very well, through to other aspects of your life. So yes, I guess I really tried to tell a story with each one, and I'm really chuffed to hear you say that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to give you a bit of a bizarre reference now, because we're going to play the single Cold Rain shortly, and when I heard the first few bars, I immediately thought Southern Comfort, the film with Ry Cooder. I don't know if you've ever seen that film or heard that soundtrack.
Well, you could not be more spot on, because I've got to tell you, when I'm not writing songs, I do play quite a lot of guitar on sort of music for picture. and TV, and I quoted you one of my Desert Island albums. I don't know if you're allowed more than one, which was the Tom Waits Blue Valentine. The other one would actually be Paris, Texas by Ry Cooder. So absolutely Southern Comfort, know it, love it. Paris, Texas has always been the one for me. I remember hearing that. I think I just moved to London. It was kind of mid-80s. And it more or less changed my life, just what he managed to do with one guitar and a slide, a piece of metal on his finger, was just astonishing. That atmosphere. So Mike, I've always loved that sound. I've always loved that sort of haunting, slide. It's somewhere between a voice and a musical instrument, I always think. And I kind of knew, even though I wanted this album to be about, it was of songs and stories, I wanted it to open up with that sound. And it's actually I've played slide guitar all my life, sort of a traditional guitar standing up with the slide on your finger, but again, quite late in life, really within the last 10 years, I got into playing lap steel and dobro, and Cold Rain opens it's all played on the dobro. It's a solo dobro performance, with the guitar actually on your lap, and the sound is made with a steel bar.
You quite often get people who are dedicated to the guitar, and they do tend to stick with the guitar, a lot of them. So it's really fascinating. You've explored all these different forms of the guitar.
I loved, all aspects of the guitar. I loved, I've got a nylon string, and I didn't use it on this record, but the two, I've got a sort of standard acoustic, which you've got a lot of work on this album, but really moving between the lap steel and the dobro, which are they're close cousins. I always think of the lap steel. He's like the sort of simpler cousin of the pedal steel. I've never played pedal steel in my life. I've met a few guys who play it very well, but that's quite a complicated instrument, obviously the sound of Nashville and country.
Yeah,
but I do love my my lap steel. So that's featured on the album on a song called North Coast Girl, and there's also bits of it on Blood Red, and the dobro features on both the title track Little Thunderstorms, where it plays the lead line, and Cold Rain is just a solo performance. It is just one take. I'm not telling you whether it's the first take. I don't think it was, but it is just one take.
Now, previously you played in London blues outfit Shotgun House. Other sessions, you've done live and co-writing. Was it always your intention to sort of branch out into what is essentially your own creation?
Yes, I think it was. I think that's a really good question. I'm very aware. I made a record 2017, and then this one's come out 2021. I'm sort of aware. Two solo songwriting albums. As I say, I'm certainly not 21, believe me. And I'm quite late in life to be making solo songwriting albums. And I've actually, I've just become passionate about writing these songs myself and putting them out there under my own name. I suspect there's possibly a realization, maybe it comes to you late in life, that to quote Tom Waits again about singing your own songs, I've always thought of myself as a guitar player before a singer, but Tom's got this great quote where he talks about his own voice, and he says, I might not have the greatest voice in the world, but it's the right horn for the engine. And I love that. And I actually feel that about my own songs. I think, well, I'm writing these, I've got to sing them myself. I've just got to step up to the vocal mic and sing them and project them in the way that I'm hearing them in my head. And I think, I've played guitar from the age of 6, and I've always sung, I've sung backing vocals and I've sung on stuff, but to actually sort of take the solo songwriter route, reasonably late in life, having spent a lot of my sort of working life being a guitar player, was simultaneously scary and exciting. One guy who influenced me a huge amount is Chris Stapleton. If you know his Traveller album, that came out in 2015. And that was just, I'd been sort of writing songs properly for about 3 or 4 years by the time I heard that. And I just fell in love with that record. But on top of that, I was really influenced by his move from sideman to the vocal mic. And actually, a lot of the reviews have been very warm and kind about that. They've always said, they've often said a sideman steps up to the vocal mic to make a solo record. And that's entirely true with me. And, Chris Stapleton, who's a lot more well-known and a lot more successful than me, he did exactly the same thing with his Traveller record. He'd written a lot of songs for other people and he played sessions and stuff, but that was really his first solo record to land. And I love it. And I was very inspired by it.
Brilliant. Well, sadly, we're running out of time now. So in a few seconds, can you explain to our listeners where they can get hold of your music and where they can learn a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Good starting point is my website, www.kbbayley.com, and that's Bayley, Bayley. So you can find me there. I'm on Facebook, KB Bayley. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, KB Bayley. Find me on any of those. You can see pictures of all the guitars I used on the album. You can also see some pictures of the collaborators who played on the record with me, and you can hear the album on all the digital places, Spotify, Apple Music, etc., Deezer as well. I think it's there as well.
Fantastic. Well, it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Mike, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you. Love talking about the songs. Love being on your program. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And we're going to play out now with the single from the album Little Thunderstorms. This is KB Bayley and Cold Rain.
Sitting by the church, watching the rain come down, and talking to the people with their names written on the ground. Waiting for a blinding light, make me whole again. Waiting for a lightning strike, make me feel my soul again. Sign on the wall says there is no higher name. I'm sitting here wondering if it's you we've got to blame. Someone said there's a hole in the sky where the night gets in. We're gonna pay the price for original sin. Waiting on a cold rain to wash this dust away. Waiting on an old pain to tell me just how I feel today. Driving in the slow lane, feeling like I'm wasting my time. Waiting on a slow train coming down the line. Waiting on a cold rain falling like a sigh. She said, you've heard it before, but this time it's true. It's not about me, it's all about you. It's just something deep inside that I'm not feeling. It's just something I can't do. Waiting on a cold rain to wash this dust away. Waiting on an old pain to tell me just how I feel today. Driving in the slow lane, feeling like I'm wasting my time. Waiting on a slow train coming down the line. Waiting on a cold rain falling soft and fine. Someone said they still don't know where the plane went down. They're standing around looking for a hole in the ground. Waiting on a cold rain to wash this dust away. Waiting on an old pain to tell me just how I feel today. Driving in the slow lane, feeling like I'm wasting my time. Waiting on a slow train coming down the line. Waiting on a slow train coming down the line. Waiting on a cold rain falling like a sign.
You've been listening to the Arts Show podcast with Mike Madden. Come back soon for more artists, authors, musicians and anyone else connected with the arts. We're going to play out with Mike Sanchez and I Don't Stand a Chance.
Baby, you hiding something that you don't want me to know, because I'm getting a vibe from way down the side, like you're just about ready to go. And you can't tell me where you stayed last night, you just can't cope with treating me right. I'm on the road to heartbreak, now's the time to tell me so, because I'm getting a chill like I'm gonna be ill. I know you don't want me no more, I won't be satisfied with your little white lies. Girl, I've only just begun to realize I don't stand a chance, I don't stand a chance. You don't wanna know and I can't make you dance. Well, I said goodbye, find yourself another guy. I wish you were mine, but I'm losing my mind. I don't stand a chance. Now's the time to tell me so, because I'm getting a chill like I'm gonna be ill. I know you don't want me no more, I won't be satisfied with your little white lies. Girl, I've only just begun to realize I don't stand a chance. No, I don't stand a chance. You don't wanna know and I can't make you dance. Well, I'll say goodbye, find yourself another guy. I wish you were mine, but I'm losing my mind. I don't stand a chance.